Why do you tend to overthink at night? Have you ever noticed that during the day you're actually fine, aren't you? You go to work, you talk and laugh, you get things done, you tell yourself, I'm fine. But then night falls, when the lights are turned off, when the phone is placed face down on the table, when the room is left with nothing but silence, your mind begins to get noisy. Why is it that the exact moment you lie down, close your eyes, and tell yourself, okay, time to sleep, your brain chooses this moment to think about everything? The conversation you wish you had said differently, the decision you're still not sure was right or wrong, the unclear future ahead, and even the version of yourself, the person you fear you're becoming or haven't managed to become yet. At night, there's no noise to drown out your thoughts, no work to distract you, no role to play. There's only you and the thoughts that were never spoken out loud. You lie there, staring at the ceiling in the dark, listening to the steady hum of the fan or the distant sound of traffic outside. Your body is tired, but your mind refuses to stop. One thought appears, then another, and then you're stuck in a loop of if only, I should have, and what if. You start thinking about things you didn't even touch all day: work, money, relationships, the pace of your life compared to others. You ask yourself, am I moving too slowly? Am I falling behind? Why does everyone else seem fine while I'm not? The strange thing is, nothing particularly bad happened today. There was no major incident, no disaster, and yet, at night, everything suddenly feels heavy. If you're listening to these words and they feel familiar, I want you to know something very important. There is nothing wrong with you. Overthinking at night does not mean you are weak. It does not mean you are inadequate. And it certainly does not mean you are failing at life. Very often, it simply means that you are someone who cares. You care about your future. You care about the choices you've made. You care about how you are living your life. During the day, we are busy surviving. We react, we try, we push our emotions aside to keep going. But when night comes, space appears. And in that space, the thoughts that were postponed all day finally get a chance to speak. Night does not create overthinking. It only reveals what you've been carrying for a long time. The worries you've learned to keep quiet, the pressures you've come to see as normal, the expectations you place on yourself that sometimes you don't even realize. And maybe your mind isn't trying to suffer you at all. Maybe it's just trying to tell you something. So before you blame yourself for thinking too much, before you wish your mind would just shut off as quickly as possible, try pausing for a moment. What if overthinking at night is not the enemy? What if it's a signal, a reminder from within that something inside you needs to be heard? In this podcast episode, we'll look for the answers together. Why is nighttime when the mind becomes most active? What is really happening inside you when everything around you grows quiet? And most importantly, how can you face those thoughts with understanding instead of fighting them? If you're listening to this podcast while lying in bed, unable to fall asleep, take a slow, deep breath with me. You are not alone in this moment. And you don't need to figure out your entire life in a single night. Sometimes, the first step towards sleeping peacefully is simply understanding why your mind refuses to rest. Why is nighttime when you think the most? To understand why night makes your mind feel overloaded, we need to start with one very simple truth. During the day, you are busy surviving. At night, you finally have time to feel. During the day, life doesn't give you many choices. You have to wake up. You have to go to work. You have to fulfill responsibilities. You have to reply to messages. You have to appear okay. Even when you're tired, even when something inside doesn't feel right, you keep going. Not because you're stronger during the day, but because you don't have time to be weak. Your mind is constantly pulled by work, noise, people, deadlines, and in that state, your brain does something very familiar. It postpones emotions. I'll think about it later. I'll deal with it tonight. Now is not the time. But emotions don't disappear. They just wait. And at night, when everything around you grows quiet, when there's nothing left to distract you, those emotions return, all at once. Number 1. The brain doesn't get tired the way the body does. One of the biggest reasons you can't fall asleep is that your body and your mind don't get tired at the same rhythm. Your body has worked all day. It needs rest. But your brain is different. The brain is designed to solve problems, and when there are no more external problems to deal with, it turns inward. Unanswered questions, unfinished decisions, worries you haven't dared to face. Night becomes the brain's free time, and it uses that time to do what it does best: think. Not because you want to, but because your brain believes that if it doesn't think now, things might become worse later. Overthinking, from this perspective, is not the enemy. It is a protective mechanism. Number 2. The pressure of ages 20 to 40. Questions no one teaches you how to answer. If you are between the ages of 20 and 40, you may not realize it, but you are carrying a lot of pressure without a name. No one directly tells you, at this age, you must have everything, but society subtly reminds you of it every day. In your 20s, you're asked, when will you graduate? Do you know what you want to do yet? In your 30s, the questions change. Is your job stable yet? How's your income? Are you married yet? In your 40s, the pressure shifts again. Have you gone far enough? Is your life what you once imagined? The problem is, no one teaches you how to answer these questions. There is no correct answer. There is no fixed timeline. There are only silent comparisons. And at night, when you no longer have to play the role of being okay, those questions become the clearest. Am I wasting time? What if I chose wrong? What if I keep trying and still get nowhere? During the day, you can avoid them. At night, you can't escape. Number 3. Social comparison. At night, everything becomes exaggerated. There is another thing that makes nighttime much harder: social media. Many of us end the day by scrolling on our phones, a few minutes of videos, a few pictures, a few stories of other people's lives. But the brain doesn't understand that these are just carefully selected moments. It only registers one thing: other people are moving forward, and I'm standing still. At night, when you're already tired, your psychological defenses are weaker. You're more likely to believe that other people's lives are easier, other people's success comes faster, and your slowness is a failure. The silence of late night makes those comparisons feel louder, not because they are true, but because there is nothing else to drown them out. Number 4. Emotions suppressed all day. Many people overthink at night not because they think too much, but because they feel too little during the day. You're used to saying, "It's fine. I'm okay. It's nothing." You're used to swallowing your emotions so you don't bother anyone, so you're not seen as weak, so you don't have to explain yourself. But emotions don't disappear just because you don't say them out loud. They accumulate. And at night, when no one is watching, when there's no role left to play, those emotions find a way out through thoughts. You don't just think about one thing, you think about everything, because they've been waiting too long. Number 5. Silence makes thoughts feel bigger. There is a very interesting paradox. Night is quieter, but your mind is louder. The reason is that when the outside world grows quiet, you are forced to listen to the world inside. And if you are used to not listening to yourself during the day, then at night, everything comes rushing in all at once. Silence does not create problems, it only amplifies what already exists. Number 6. Overthinking is not a sign of failure. This is something very important that I want you to remember. Overthinking at night does not mean you are living your life wrong. Very often, it means you are in a period of transition. You are rethinking your direction. You are questioning what truly matters. You don't want to live an unconscious life. People who never overthink are often people who never stop to ask, "What am I living for?" The problem isn't that you think too much, it's that you're trying to carry too much on your own, in silence. Number 7. You don't need to solve everything at night.
Nighttime is not the moment to make big decisions. It's not the time to draw conclusions about your entire life, and it is certainly not the time to judge yourself. Yet many of us do exactly that. We try to finish solving everything before we fall asleep, as if we don't, everything will collapse. The truth is, there is no important decision that needs to be made at 2 a.m. Night should only be a time to listen, not a time to conclude. If you've listened this far, you may be starting to understand better why your mind refuses to be quiet at night. Not because you are weak, not because you are inadequate, but because you are human, a human being trying to live well in a world full of pressure. And when you understand that, you can begin to face those thoughts with more gentleness. Before we end this podcast episode, I want you to pause for a moment and come back to this very moment. If it's nighttime right now, if you're lying in bed or listening to this podcast in a quiet room, notice your breathing. Breathe in slowly and breathe out very gently. You don't need to do anything else. There is one very important thing that I hope you remember after listening to this episode. You don't need to solve your entire life at night. The thoughts that appear right now do not demand immediate answers. They only need to be acknowledged. You don't need to know exactly where you'll be in 5 or 10 years. You don't need to have everything figured out in order to be allowed to rest. Tonight, the only thing you need to do well is allow yourself to be tired. If your mind is still spinning, try saying one very simple sentence to yourself. I've done enough for today. Not perfect, not excellent, just enough. The big questions in life don't disappear just because you sleep, but they also don't need to be solved in darkness and exhaustion. Tomorrow, when the light returns, you'll see things a little differently, clearer, lighter, kinder to yourself. Overthinking at night is not something you need to eliminate. It's simply a sign that you care about your life, and caring is a beautiful thing. But you also deserve to rest, not by forcing your brain to be silent, but by reassuring it. You can say to your mind, "Thank you for trying to protect me, but now I'll continue tomorrow." If there is one small thing you can do right after finishing this podcast, try taking a piece of paper or opening a note on your phone and write down the thing that's weighing on your mind the most. Not to analyze it, not to find a solution, just to place it outside your head until tomorrow morning. You might be surprised how much lighter your mind feels just by doing that. And if you're listening to this podcast and thinking, "I'm not alone anymore," then I'm very glad I could be here with you. If you'd like, you can leave a comment under this video sharing what you're thinking about tonight. No one needs to reply, you just need to be able to say it out loud. If this podcast made you feel understood, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so we can meet again on nights like this. Think of these podcast episodes as slow conversations, unhurried, between you and yourself. And before you turn off the video, I want to remind you one more time. You are not behind. You are not on the wrong path, and you don't need to be strong all the time. Tonight, you just need to sleep peacefully, and tomorrow, we'll continue, slowly and a little more kindly toward ourselves.